Toby Roland-Jones, thanks for coming out to join us at the end of the Leicester game. Toby, a bitterly disappointing day for the club.
Yeah, really frustrating. Obviously, I guess at the start of each day, we kind of outline what we're looking to achieve, and probably then to break it down to the best way to do that. And we obviously found ourselves off to a great start there with the guys opening up with that 50 partnership, and I guess since then, the fall of wickets, we just couldn't seem to find a way to stem that flow, as well as putting pressure back on. Obviously, it's pretty fresh now. There's obviously been a little bit of reflection, but certainly, I guess, a bit of frustration that we weren't able to find either the answers to the questions being asked out there, or to find that little bit of extra nudge back to just put some more pressure on. So it is frustrating. I think particularly when things slide like that and you find big momentum shifts, I think you're asking for guys to stand up and to find a way to punch back, and unfortunately we just didn't have that today.
I guess there are times, Toby, as captain, when you look at the opposition and say hats off to them. They've done well there. They had a very good varied attack, this Leicester bowling unit, and that they've all bowled well today.
Yeah, we certainly can't have any complaints about being outplayed in this game, which is always bitter to swallow, I feel like, particularly here at Lord's. And like you said, certainly I think with that five-man attack, had plenty of questions to ask, and like I said, we're definitely in that change room have more than enough ability to find the answers and more. Obviously just wasn't to be the case in particular today. So yeah, frustrating on a lot of sides, but as always, defeats are part of the game, and it's now down to us to regroup and to use any frustrations as fuel to come back. And it's good for us that we've got a game coming up straight away at Cardiff for us to really try and exercise and really put those frustrations out and put things right.
As you say, it's pretty raw now. You're still reflecting on the loss. Hard to look at positives, I guess, but you were talking about the need for us to grab those moments. One person that's really kind of stepped up and shown his desire is young Luke Holman. Obviously came in a couple of games ago, scored 100 on debut, and not on debut, scored 100 on his first appearance this year, and really stepped up again and looked to be good out there today.
Definitely, he certainly had I felt like really good clarity out there. Definitely absorbed some of those tough times and backed his defence, and I'm sure he was frustrated even to get out in the moment that he did. Definitely while I was out there with him, we felt like we could eke out more and try and make life as tricky as possible for them. I think him and then probably a special nod to Zaf. I thought the way that he bowled in that first innings in particular, I think a lead of 40, if we'd have been able to match their score, would have actually led to a really interesting final day. And I think, it was mainly thanks to his work there, making life really tricky, not only drying up the runs, but finding a real threat as well, and some key wickets. So, it was really nice to see him go about his work as well. And, both those two can, be a bit frustrated that probably the rest of us haven't found enough to get around them, really.
I was running a question ahead of myself there. I talked about a debut. Of course, it was Navia Sharma's debut this time round. You must have been pleased for Navia. Picked up a couple of wickets. What did you make of his first appearance for the club?
Yeah, definitely. Showed plenty of positives. I think he was, unfortunate to have one dropped. I think the third ball of his first over in the game. So, that's obviously, a little bit frustrating for him. I think it probably, is something that we've struggled with a little bit all year, finding that clinical approach to some of those chances. So I think that's another thing we'll hope to improve. But from his side, definitely impressed with the way that he showed bags of energy running in. Definitely plenty of ability. I think for any bowler starting out, it's nice to just get that first wicket under their belt. So nice for him to do that, and definitely showcased, I guess, what he was picked for. Got the ability to move the ball in the air both ways. A little bit of awkwardness and zip in there as well. So he'll only continue to grow from that. Excited to see him at the start of his journey.
We've played some really good cricket at times this year, Toby, and I guess probably our best performance overall as a game was the Glamorgan game at home here. We next travel up to Cardiff. Obviously, we've got Glamorgan to face. What mood does the camp go there in?
Well, we've just spoken there. I think one thing you always try and do is to get any ill feelings out sort of immediately after the game. And I think once the guys leave here, we've got to find a way to regroup. We'll obviously train in the build up to that game and make sure that we're sort of fully focused on the task at hand. be as positive as we can be going into that. I think there's absolutely no reason for guys in there to suddenly think too many negative thoughts. Like you said, there's a lot of guys playing good cricket still, a lot of good performances in there. I think for me, actually looking at it, it's about probably combining 11 key performances and as many little contributions as possible, all adding up to be more than the sum of the parts, if you like. And I think probably, like you mentioned, Glamorgan was the game we did that best here. So yeah, hopefully we can kind of tap into that and bring some of that to Cardiff.
Well, good. Well, look, Toby, thanks for coming out to join us, and very best of luck down in Cardiff.
Cheers. Thanks so much.